Okay, now for the unknown, I have my first NMR tube, and if you can read it, it says unknown, has the number 1 on there. It's a little blurry, it doesn't want to focus, but I wrote in a number 1 on this one. And you can see it has TMS under in the bottom already, and a line at 4 centimeters. I'm going to add unknown 1 to this by pipetting it into my pipette and seeing if it drips a lot. Oh, this one's not too bad. It's got a pretty high boiling point, this guy. So I'm going to draw a little more up. I'm going to still, draw some up, spit it out. And then I will put it in the top of my NMR tube. And slowly start to fill until I get to about 4 centimeters. A little bit more, there we go. So I've got my 4 centimeters in there, looking good. And I'll pick a cap, whatever color sounds good for number 1. Maybe I'll go with a white cap for number 1. Okay, so I've got my sample number 1 prepared. I'm going to invert it to mix it. Make sure that TMS is mixed in there. 1 inversion is probably enough. I'll do a couple. And then this pipette I have in unknown 1. Uh-oh, you're getting a clue if you're looking about what it is, but you'll be able to figure out what these are easily now. What I'm going to do with this unknown now, since I already have my pipette here in the unknown 1, I'm going to put a little bit of that using this pipette on the IR, get the IR spectrum of it too, so it's ready to go. So let's go over to the IR and take it. Okay, so back at the IR spectrum looked good. We got our plastic from the inside of the instrument, just under 3,000. We got the carbon dioxide peak. I guess I'm breathing in the room. There's carbon dioxide in the room. And then some water. So anyways, it's looking good, and I like to delete it right now by hitting the delete key, because if I don't, it'll show up, the scan of my unknown will come out blue, which is fine actually for us because I'm going to screen capture it. But if we were going to print it over here to the printer, the blue, it's a black and white printer, blue comes out dashed and doesn't look that good. But anyways, let's go over and run our sample. So our ATR adapter's ready to go. I've got my sample, as I said before, up here, and oh shoot, you're getting some more hints out of it. So I'm gonna take the sample, I just have my pipette in there, and it's gonna have a little bit of the unknown in the tip of it. If I bring it over to the zinc selenide window, zinc selenide, and I push my finger on the end, my thumb works better. If I push my thumb on the end of the pipette there, it'll push out a drop of that. So here it goes, ready? Ooh, there we go, got a nice drop on there. Pushing my thumb a few times, getting a good amount. Okay, now I've got plenty of liquid coating that zinc selenide crystal. I'm gonna get a nice spectrum. So I'll go over and run it. I come over to our software, and I'm gonna go Instrument, Scan Sample, not background this time. It's going to ask me how I want to do it. I'm going to say OK to the default values and wait for my spectrum. This one has a certain smell to it. Not super strong, but yeah, it's kind of a fragrant smell. It's a little bit of a hint as to what it might be. Oh, you can already get some ideas of what it might be, huh? Looks like a strong signal in the middle there. What kind of signal, what kind of functional group causes that? Let's see, we're going to overwrite. Okay, and then I'm going to label my signals. I got to bring up the vertical cursor, so that's this button right here. Remember the vertical cursor button? So I'll click it to turn it on, and there it is, that's that green line. Or I can click it to turn it off, or on again, or off again, or on again, or I'm just leaving it on. Why would I turn it on? Okay, I'll move it over here to this guy. Where's that at? Get that right on there. Double click. And what do I see? Oh, there it is. Boom. 2948, a little less than 3,000. I know what that is. And then let's go a little bit past that. Here it is. Oh, 3,000 right on the money. Oh, that's right in the middle. But I do also have more a little further down. What do you think this is? A little over 3,000? sp2 carbon hydrogens, sp3 carbon hydrogens. Then I bring my cursor over to this big guy here. What's this big guy? double click on it, and 1715, we know what that is, carbonyl, right? And then I can label a couple of these fingerprint region peaks, easy enough. Yeah, so I think you already have an idea what this might be. And there we go. Maybe we'll label this strongest one here. And then I don't really like the way it's touching the bottom, that last one. I think I'm gonna squeeze the screen. So I gotta like push on the top of the, and push on the bottom. When I do that, if I do it just right, oh, there it is. Yeah, now it's off the bottom. Look at that, worked good. And then I'll add a text box, go into my text box button. And I'm gonna type up, this is unknown 1. And I'm gonna type in unknown 1, the date, my name, and I'm gonna screen capture it and I'll share it with you guys. Now time for the NMR. We've got unknown number 1 here. We're going to take the spinner out, and I don't want to touch it, but I do want to get the NMR tube into it. At least I don't want to touch the top part. Here's my spinner. Let's just see it a little better. There's the spinner. I'm going to put it in the top. I can hold on to the NMR tube. That's not going to touch the inside of the instrument. Got to get this to the right height, so I put it in my height gauge. Push down until it stops. Then I put it over into my NMR tube. The NMR like cylinder that you put it in is it's floating. Air's blowing up at it. Looks kind of fun, huh? Now I need it to drop down and to start spinning. So for it to drop down, I'll have to hit the, you're supposed to hit the inject button, but it's got kind of a loose connection in there. It has a gold connect. It used to have a brass connector, or no, silver. I think he changed the guy who made this one. He changed to gold, but it still gives me issues. But it doesn't really matter. This basically is the same as hitting the off button. So when I hit the off button, it drops the sample down in. And if we look carefully, if we could focus on it, I don't know. If it focuses, you could see like letters on the NMR cap, and that means it's not spinning. And now I'm going to hit this on button again, and when I hit it, it should start spinning if we're lucky. Let's see. Yeah, I can see it spinning. That's what we want to see. It's spinning nice and fast. That's good. All right, so I close the lid, keep dust out of there. Come on over to our software. And once again, we start always with a proton NMR. Here's our order of operations. We have to do the proton NMR first, because the proton NMR is going to give us tell us if we need to shim. It's going to tell us to move the TMS if needed, and then we're also going to get the proton NMR. And then after that, we do the carbon NMR, and we won't need to shim or set TMS. So are we in the proton NMR setting? We are, proton H1, and this is the AIIP NMR software. So let's do it. All I got to do to start a scan or pulse is to type ZG0 go. Nothing happens at first, because the logic of this software is that you type the command and then you have to hit enter to make it happen. So enter, and now that I did that, it came over to here and it's asking us to name it before we start the scan. It's like, what do you want to call this data? And I'm going to leave it as the default always. So I can mouse click save, but instead I'm going to be quicker about it. I'll just hit enter again, and there we go. We're running our first scan. It'll just take about 8 seconds, and then our FID should show up. Oh, there it is. It's looking a little bit weak, not too bad. Let's see, what's our receiver gain at? Receiver gain's at 2. That seems about appropriate. Let's see how this comes out, though. I bet it's going to need to be shimmed or something. See how it's like a sine wave? That's how it's supposed to look, like a sine wave, the FID. That gets the amplitude of the sine wave decreases. All right, so now let's go to the other software, Nuts. It's going to go Nuts. Click OK to accept this, so we are in the Nuts software now. There we go. To bring over our spectrum and have a Fourier transform occur, all we have to do is type the letter A and the number 2, and it automatically happens. There's no enter to hit. It just works for you right away. All right, so I'm looking at this, and my first gut instinct, this looks like it needs to be shimmed. I'm gonna zoom in on this guy here. Let's go with a double click, drag, and right click. Yeah, I believe this is my TMS. And, oh, sorry, this is my TMS, and it does not look like a singlet. I'm gonna zoom back out, and I'll show you. Like these signals, they look kind of like aromatic signals, and they shouldn't be at 10 parts per million. They should be more like 7 to 8. So this would make sense if I took, if this is TMS here, and it's at about 2 parts per million, and we move it over to 0, then those aromatic ones at 10 will move to 7 or 8. So, all right, let's do that. How do we do that again? I got to get out of the zoom subroutine. I'm in the zoom subroutine. I gotta hit enter to get out of that. Now I'm in baseline. And then I can put my cursor here, and I can find out where it is by just reading the number off it there. It's at 2.490 parts per million. Or I can hold my cursor, hold my mouse button down, my left mouse button, and as I'm holding it, type the letter M, and it'll show me the position of every peak above that horizontal line. And so yeah, that's where we're at. Let's go with the TMS being about 2.489. So we're gonna fix the TMS position, and we're also gonna tell it to shim. So I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna leave nuts. I'm gonna go into the AII PNMR software. I'm just gonna click right there. There we go. So to do the shim first, no, not the shim first. To do the, set the TMS closer to 0, I'm gonna hit the command FO, not 0, FO, frequency offset, and then hit enter. After I do that, it's gonna say, where is TMS currently? What did I say? Was it 2.4 or something? 2.4, about 2.49. Probably gonna have to do this twice because it's pretty far off. 2.49. All right, that's where TMS currently is. I click OK. Now where do we want TMS? Oh, at 0, that's the, hit 0, enter. Okay, so the TMS is closer to 0, but I still need to shim. So how do I shim? I just type the word shim. Here, actually, I'll type it and I'll let you see it typed up in the computer program. S-H-I-M. After I type shim, nothing happens until I hit enter. Boom, hit enter. Come over here, relaxation delay. How long do I want it to relax before between pulses? We'll start at 2 seconds. We always just start about 2. It'll adjust it. And then I hit enter. And now it's shimming. It's going to be adjusting the different electromagnets around the sample to try to get the magnetic field as homogeneous as possible. And it's also going to adjust the receiver gain. Remember the receiver gain was at 2, and now it's at 4. Right there, it's at 4. And the relaxation delay, I set that to 2 seconds. It's going to adjust that too. It might change it to 3 seconds or so. And the pulse length, how long it pulses all the radio waves, is that right now it's at 3 microseconds. So it's pulsing all those radio waves for just 3 microseconds, and seeing if it can get the magnetic field as homogeneous as possible. The way it does that is it basically looks for a signal that should be a singlet and just keeps adjusting until the singlet gets sharper and sharper. So here it is. This is the first sample I've run in a couple weeks maybe on this. That's good. That's why it's taken a little bit of time to shim, but there it is, it's done. All right, so a lot of times students get confused. The shimming's done, but that doesn't mean I have a new spectrum over here at nuts. This is still the old data. I gotta collect new data. How do I collect new data? I type ZG, enter again to accept the default values. Oh, and let's see what happened. The relaxation delay went to 3 seconds. I guessed at 2, and that was a close enough guess, but it adjusted it. Oh, the receiver gain went back to 2. Oh, look at this. That looks a lot better, doesn't it? A lot fuller. That's usually what we're looking for. So now that's done. The second collection of data. Now I'll go to nuts. So this is my nuts, and this has the old spectrum. To bring in the new spectrum, of course, I type the letter A. Watch, it'll show up here, letter A. And then when I hit 2, I don't have to hit enter, it'll automatically give me the spectrum. Oh man, that looks so much better. Look at that. I can zoom in on what's the TMS signal here. Oh, pretty nice and sharp, huh? Remember that wasn't even a singlet before. And then I've got my aromatic signals around 8 to 10, so I'm gonna zoom in on the main signals. I'm going to use my wheel on my mouse to lower it down. I get the singlet on screen here. And now I'm in Zoom still. I don't want to be in Zoom anymore. I want to go and add a text box. See, I'm going to Zoom, go add a text box. So before I go into text box though, I got to get out of this Zoom subroutine. How do I do that? I just hit enter. Enter ends things, and that's, now I'm in the base level. What's the command to make a text box? Does anybody know it? Do you know it? No? You don't know it? No? No? Oh, no is right. N-O. So now I'm in enter notes subroutine, and I hit A to add a new one. So now I'll type in what this one is. This one's a unknown one by Mark Springsteel. And I'm doing this on 10/27/2020. All right, that's looking good. Click OK, bring it over right up here maybe. And then I'm still in the notes, enter notes subroutine. I want to get out of that. That always exit out. Oh, now I'm back in the base level. And you notice I've still got this value that I had before the shim and moved the TMS. Let's get rid of that. The way we can get rid of that is you can just make a new one of those. I'm going to go, just going to get some of these peaks. I'm going to move my horizontal line to just get the TMS, that, and some of those aromatics. Now I just type the letter M. Oh, I don't know what I did. Something weird happened. Let's try that again. Now I just type the letter M. There we go. So now it's marking the TMS at like 0.005. So now this got a singlet about 3.8. Alpha to oxygen maybe, and then definitely some aromatics. So next up, I did the text box integration. What's the command for integration? It is I. Type the letter I, and then when I type D, it'll just automatically pop up. There it is. No need to hit enter. And I've got this nice integration curve. What I want to do is chop it up around my signal. So I'm going to go 2 clicks on the left of this area, 1 click there, 2 clicks here, 1 click there. Looks like about a 2 to 3 ratio, huh? Now I'm going to come over here, 2 clicks, 1 click. How does that compare? Oh, it looks like a 2 to 3 to 3. And that's TMS, so I'm not going to integrate that. So I got a good guess at this. I'm going 2, 3, 3. Let's put a value on that. So I'm going to click once in this integral. And then as the red line is there, I'll type the letter V. And when I do that, it's going to ask me what do I want to sign that as. I want to sign it as 2. Actually, I'll sign it as 1 first just to show you what it looks like. If I say 1 and OK, then it looks like a 1 to 1.47 to 1.45. Yeah, this definitely looks like it needs to be 2 over here. So I'm going to click once on that. Type V and the number 2, and now my reference there, that most downfield signal is set to 2, and this makes this 2.94, 2.90. Wow, this is like very good integration, very close, right? So we'll keep that. I'm going to collect this data, and this will be my unknown for the for this unknown assignments. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back at the AII PNMR software. I need to switch this now to carbon NMR. So I type the command NU space C. Oh, not that. I'm gonna do that one. NU space C13. Okay, yep. Now I'm in the carbon 13 setting. And to start the carbon scans, it's just a ZG again. Enter, enter. And for carbon, it's going to do 12 scans. Not 1 scan like the proton NMR. And since we made such a concentrated sample, this is probably like 95, 98%, not probably 95% sample. We'll probably, 12 scans should be enough to get us a nice carbon 13 NMR with our 15 megahertz NMR. And we are already at 4 out of 12 scans, looking good. We might actually have enough already. We can, while it's scanning, we can check it. We go to nuts, and we can hit enter to get into the baseline level. And then the command that you have to hit here, you have to hold control and then the F3 key at the top. When I do that, it'll ask me which one do you want to open. That's the default name I saved, so I just click OK or enter. Line broadening, 0.5. Okay. Oh, look at that. It looks great. That was after like 6 scans, I think. And I've already got, it looks like, all my signals. It's because this is such a concentrated sample. So we can go ahead and see what it looks like after it's complete. It's almost done. It's 11 out of 12. 12 out of 12. Okay. So now I'll go back to nuts. Now I've got, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 signals. Let's do the minimum peak height. I'm going to go right here, and then I'm going to type M. And yeah, it's showing 6 signals. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And let me think, which one is this one? This is unknown 1. I forget which one it is. Oh wait, I know which one it is. Yeah. Yeah, 6 is correct. I think that's correct. Let me get rid of this peak labels. I like that. Just that table looks good there. All right, and now carbon NMR is easier to deal with. I just got to add a text box and we're in it. No need to integrate. And I can zoom in too. So I'll include 200 so people can see that there was nothing at 200. So I drag across a little more than 200 to a little less than 0. Now I'm still in the zoom subroutine, so I gotta get out of that. Gotta hit enter. And you'll notice the TMS is not really showing up. That makes sense because TMS is, there's very little of it in our NMR tube, and in that very little bit of TMS, only 1% about is carbon 13. So there we go. And now our text box command, NOA. This is unknown 1 by me. I'm going to put my initials now. 10, 27, 20, 20. Okay. All right, so I've got my text box up there, but I got to hit, it's got a box around it. That's because I'm still in the enter notes subroutine. I need to hit the enter key to make me get out into the base level. So if I wanted to print at this point, I type PL. But since we're doing this online teaching, I'm just going to take a screenshot of this guy.